I think there are lots of considerations and reasons why you may want to consider a postnuptial agreement. There's lots of press and publicity about prenuptial agreements, but postnuptial agreements are not considered or discussed as widely. One use of a postnuptial agreement could be where a prenuptial agreement has been entered into quite close to the wedding, and there are concerns that both parties haven't had enough time to consider the terms, and it could lead to potential uncertainty about whether or not that prenuptial agreement will be upheld in the future if there's a permanent breakdown of the marriage. A postnuptial agreement can be entered into after the date of the wedding, which helps solidify the terms of the prenuptial agreement and confirm that both parties are fully on board with the spirit behind it. And it can be quite helpful to confirm that that's their joint intentions in the future if something were to go wrong. So that's one reason why they can be used. Another reason is that a prenuptial agreement is something that they have not got round to, or was not on their radar at the time that they got married, and they'd like to consider having an agreement in the future in the event that something goes wrong. It may be that they've had arguments already about certain issues, money being a key argument in lots of people at the other end of the spectrum that I see that are entering into the divorce process. That unfortunately, I think there was a statistic that I read the other day that almost 2/3 of couples who are going through divorce have at some point argued about money, or it's a driving factor behind divorce. That especially at a time when there are kind of economical factors that come into play as well, which exacerbate the arguments between them. So a postnuptial agreement can be a way for couples that are having disagreements about money to be completely upfront about what the position is. They have to go through full financial disclosure when entering into a postnuptial agreement. So both of them will need to set out to the other exactly what their financial position is, good or bad. And that can really help build trust between a couple and show that both are willing to be completely honest about what the situation is and what their position would be in the event that things did not go well, unfortunately, and the marriage did break down in the future. It can also give them a clear plan to separate amicably. Another reason that it could be beneficial to enter into a postnuptial agreement is to give clarity about what will happen if either of the parties inherit or are due to inherit in the future. There can be open discussions about what will happen to that inheritance, whether it should be ring-fenced for one party, for the party receiving it. And often those conversations can be generated or are generated from the wider family. Parties are encouraged by their parents to have those discussions up front to ensure that any wealth passing down the family line is kept as much as possible within the family. One thing that I would say is very important is choosing the right type of lawyer for those agreements and negotiating those agreements. Both parties have to be independently legally represented, and a letter kind of being drafted quite aggressively can polarise parties and actually be really unhelpful and lead them down the path of separation in the worst case scenario, which obviously is what everyone is seeking to avoid. It's important to bear in mind that as part of the postnuptial agreement negotiation process, both parties have to be independently represented by lawyers. Most practitioners will have a list of other lawyers that they will refer to that will approach this in a conciliatory manner and not aggravate an already quite difficult negotiation.